Hello, my friend, and welcome to Beyond, the personal growth podcast for the people who are healing beyond their conditioning and beyond the cycles that played out before them. My name is Katie Lynn, and with 20 years of experience in the field of psychology and human behavior, I am bringing my natural curiosity, expertise, and personal life experiences here for discussions that are guaranteed to be informative, inspiring, and entertaining. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Today on the podcast, we have Sapphire. Sapphire, welcome. I'm so grateful to have you on. My pleasure.
Yes, I'm excited.
Where would you like to begin?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been launching a business over the last 6 months, a coaching business. And it's probably like my third or fourth business I've launched over the last, I'm kind of like a serial entrepreneur ever all through my 20s. And I kind of tend to kind of go all in and then get myself kind of in this scarcity spot where I'm not really earning money from my business. So then I just feel kind of stuck and scared and in scarcity. So then I end up having to take a job, and it takes me completely out of the business. And then I'll do that for a year or two. And then by the time I come back to my business, it no longer resonates. And I relaunch a different kind of version of that business or an entirely new business. And so I've kind of been on this cycle, I think 3 or 4 times. And there's definitely a through line between all the businesses. It's all around authenticity. It's all using my skills in video and photo and storytelling and stuff like that. And coaching. And yeah, it's all around your story and your truth and all these kinds of things. So there is a through line, and it has been building on itself, but I'm just really ready for this time, to be able to make the income and impact I want to have. And I'm just really tired of I've scraped by through my entire 20s. And I'm just really, really done doing that and just want to step into a new paradigm. I have also heavily invested in myself, and that was part of the problem, so to speak, early on. I think I invested too much, too soon, too fast in some coaches that didn't really, I just feel maybe it was a bit predatory on their end, knowing how young I was and knowing how little experience I had, and that it was my first business and all these kinds of things. I felt a little bit preyed on, looking back. And so for a while, that really turned me off to the coaching industry as a whole. And I've kind of recently been coming back to it and finding value in it again and finding coaches that resonate more with me. But yeah, so there's a ton of debt from that, and a lack of self-trust around making investment decisions for myself, choosing coaches and choosing support, and how much do you go all in and go straight to Lulu on yourself, and how much do you be realistic and have a part-time job and do all the, you know what I mean? Whatever the thing is. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell.
I mean, I love your vulnerability and I love your honesty in this, because there is a lot to be said for being, in air quotes, new, right? And air quotes again, young in business. And there's a lot to be said for wanting it to work, that fine line. I love that you said being, going all in on your Delulu, and also really staying in a space of, I'm keeping myself safe, I'm providing for myself, I'm making sure that I have my basic needs met, and all of those. So these are all things that if we choose to step into entrepreneurship, especially in our 20s, where these lessons come quick. So I heard you say, the scarcity comes in or has come in. What does that sound like for you internally?
It usually shows up as honestly a high, sort of feels high cortisol, high drive. I just got to do this, that, and today I'm just going to keep going all it. It kind of shows up as this overachieving, producing, push, control. I've got to figure out how to get a client, or I've got to figure out how to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So I almost go into emergency zone or emergency state of I've got to fix this. And put a lot of pressure on myself to then make a sale or make something happen.
Yes. So I'm hearing pressure, not just hearing pressure, but also I can feel it. It's just a physical body pressure. So pressure, stress, cortisol. The other word that I heard that was really interesting for me is fix.
Mm-hmm.
As if, right? What do we fix? We fix
Yeah.
what's broken, right?
Broken.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that I made a note of that. And
Mm-hmm.
what is the number in your mind, right? The number that is like, if I can create this number in my business, then I will know that I can take care of myself. I will know that the business is sustainable. What is that number?
I feel like there's the immediate number, which for me would be like, let's say 5K months. I'd be like more than taken care of. Like
Okay.
probably, I think my expenses are around 4,500 a
Okay.
month.
Okay.
So like 5K is like I'm doing it, but like maybe
Hmm.
still afraid it's gonna like, dip or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
goal that makes me feel like, wow, I like did it, quote unquote, is like 250K a year kind of
Great.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah. What does 250K a year take according to you?
Mm. I think it definitely takes a high level of trust and worthiness in myself and like being able
Uh-huh.
to really like take up space and charge what I need to charge. I think that's a
Hmm.
big struggle for me, always has been. It's just like way undercharging for my services. I think just like a high level of integrity and like showing up, which I know can be like kind of a buzzword, but like I think it's doing my mindset and beliefs work every day, which I do.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Hmm.
also really into somatic practices, so like staying up on like breath work and things that
Great.
keep me like really grounded.
Yep.
Honestly, like I've been really proud of like how I've shown up over the past, I mean, entire 6 months, but just the past week I like flew out to Montana for a family emergency and our family's like in complete chaos. And like
Hmm.
I've still been showing up at a really high level for both
Yeah.
my family and my business, which has been a huge testament to like the work that I've put in to get here. And so I think
For
even flying out
sure.
here, risking the part-time job that I had, like this is more in line with my values to like be with my family during this time. And
Yeah.
I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to work from wherever. And so I do feel like making those kinds of decisions where it's like this is in line with my values, not necessarily my bank account, has really worked for me this week. Like I'm making more progress
Hmm.
and getting closer to signing my first high ticket client than I have
Hmm.
been in the whole 6 months. So I
Hmm.
think that's been kind of interesting too. I hope that answered the question.
I I mean, yes, and I love that you're seeing this, that the values are
Hmm.
such an important foundational component for decision making. The level of discernment that's required for business can only be really accessed and executed consistently and effectively when we know ourselves. Like the
Hmm.
amount of discernment that we have is in direct correlation to self-awareness. So the fact that you're seeing this and you're like, oh, I there's a difference, right? Is super
Hmm.
important. And I love
Yeah.
that you because it also takes a lot of courage to be able
Yeah.
to make a
Oh, for
decision like
sure.
that. This is one of those components of business and entrepreneurship that gets kind of hidden because it's not so out front. It's not a tangible thing that you experience
Hmm.
in terms of like, I have proof that I can show you this is happening. It's more internal. And it's that process of, oh my gosh, if I step away and I change my focus, even for a few days to family, will my business be okay? Will my work be okay? And
Hmm.
so I want to acknowledge that in your process because it's a very mature decision to make and a very
Hmm.
self-honoring decision to make. And so I want to make sure that I'm pointing it out so your brain can collect it as evidence that you can be trusted.
Hmm. Yeah.
You make good decisions
Hmm.
because sometimes just as a story in background because our subconscious loves stories is the initiations into entrepreneurship can be really intense. And I feel like my sentiment is if you want to be on the fast track accelerated program to personal development, get into entrepreneurship and get into a romantic partnership
Mm.
and watch
Well, two for
everything.
two then. So
Yeah, you're on the super accelerated program, really learning these lessons. And also the real dance is, can I learn these lessons and be in this curriculum without personalizing it and making meaning that actually suppresses myself? Like I can't be
hmm.
trusted, or maybe this isn't meant for me, or maybe I'm not built for this, or maybe this won't be possible, or maybe I just meant to get a job, right? Which there's nothing wrong with getting a job. So as we go forward in this conversation, what is the high ticket client? What's that price point for you?
So I want to be charging, I think to meet my 250K goal would be higher, but just to start as a starting point, I want to charge like about 5K per client. So it's
Okay.
6,500 is what the price would be, but then there's like an action. So it'd be 6,500 in full, but if they like take action earlier, I have like a discount
Mm-hmm.
for that,
Mm-hmm.
which would be
Okay.
brings it down to 5K. So somewhere in
Yeah.
that 5K per
Sure.
client range.
Okay. How does it feel if I say, Sapphire, ask me for $6,500 right now? So go ahead and ask me for $6,500.
Um, hey, can I have $6,500?
How does it feel in
Nervous.
your body? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I love this exercise because
Ridiculous. Yeah.
yes, yes, ridiculous
Mhm.
because
Hmm. It's, I think just like, yeah, it's a lot of money and like we don't know each other. We don't have that maybe established necessity, obviously context and everything too. But yeah.
sure. I heard you say it's a lot of money. We don't have rapport, context. We don't have relationship. We literally just met, what, 17 minutes ago.
Hmm.
So now let's say we're going to play imagination. Are you a visual person?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Great. So imagine you have your dream website up. This program, this high ticket program that you have is on there and it's available. And not only is it available, but anybody who finds you can come to your website and click a button that says buy now. And they sign up for 6,500 pay in full when they click that button. So let's say you're out with friends and you're having a wonderful time. Your phone dings, you pull it out and you look at it, and there's a notification that somebody who you don't know, you've never met, just purchased entry to your high ticket offer and you have $6,500 paid in full. How does that feel in your body for you?
Yeah, it's like instant relief and like joy and excitement.
Amazing. What's the first thing you want to say out loud after you see that notification?
Sweet.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, what's the difference between scenario 1 where you ask me for 6,500 and scenario 2?
Hmm. Yeah, just the me having to ask for it and me making the first kind of move, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Yeah. What about that has some charge to it for you?
I guess I feel like it's putting me in a position of what comes to mind is begging. Like the asking
Interesting.
means I'm taking and I need from you. Yeah, versus someone just like offering it and being like, here's
Mhm.
$6,500.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm asking something of them. That's what it's up.
Mhm. Were you allowed to ask for what you needed when you were younger? How did that work out?
Yeah. I do really struggle with asking for what I need.
Mhm.
It's not that it wasn't allowed.
Mhm.
I think it was like subconsciously not allowed. Like it was said
Mhm.
it was allowed, and it was,
Yeah.
of course you can come to me, of course you can do these things. But I
Yeah.
think certain times when I did, what I got back was either fixing, which is
Mhm.
funny because now I
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. That word comes up again. Yeah.
Yeah. Or minimizing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, and I want to know if this resonates for you. The sense that I get is the sentiment is like, I don't want to be a burden.
Hmm.
Does that resonate for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I don't know if the word burden does, but yeah, it's
Mhm.
like I don't want to. I mean, I'm definitely like an overcoming people pleasing type person. Like I
Mhm.
just, yeah, don't want to be an inconvenience. Don't want to be too much. As a
Yeah.
kid, I was labeled high maintenance as a joke, or hotel
Mm.
Mike technically.
Oh,
um,
okay. Uh-huh.
I was like the too sensitive, too much
Yeah.
archetype kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like, yeah, I don't want to ask too much or burden. I mean, burden is the word for it. I just think that word wasn't ever used,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No, I love that you're putting your own language to it. That's just the sense that I get,
yeah.
and I would prefer your own language over it. So, how would you describe you now?
I would say now I'm in a place where I'm like really embodying a lot of the like entrepreneurship and self development growth I've been learning over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Like I feel like I do know how to take up more space. I would say I'm not like still not the best, but like I practice it regularly and like I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning and actively doing it a lot more, setting boundaries more, speaking up more when I need like yeah, when I realize that I need something. And just like holding that uncomfortable space that I've learned how to
Mm-hmm.
do for myself, I'm like starting to be able to do it in family or in relationship, like
Mm-hmm.
in other spaces that are more difficult. I've like really gotten good at like validating myself, being there for myself, feeling all the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
like really have my own back in a way that I haven't over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I do have like obviously self-trust issues still come up, but I have a lot more self-trust than
Mm-hmm.
I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like I definitely feel at a new level of like worth and just like
Mm-hmm.
um, well-being and safety and security with myself.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and it's like the money is the piece that will tell me. I think I've also made it a bit of a sign in my mind that like the universe is going to respond also when I really am there, or like it's going to happen when I'm like, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
going to be like a sign that I've like completed a level, kind
Like
of, you know what I
proof.
mean? Yeah, proof.
Like
Hmm.
proof. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is that true?
probably not. Yeah, no, because they're not necessarily linked. We don't know. I can't know for sure that they're linked. Could
Sure.
always be other reasons why I don't earn money
Mm-hmm.
that could be disconnected from my self worth and like
Yeah.
how well I'm showing up. Like I could be doing everything at a really
Mm-hmm.
high level. It doesn't mean necessarily that like that I'm gonna get,
Yeah.
paid.
Yeah. What determines your worth?
I think money does on a level.
That's
Like
what I
if
was hearing
success
a
and
little
money really
bit.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's
So,
always been from a young age too. Like achieve it used to be more achievement. Like I wanted to be on Broadway, I wanted to be in the movies, like be
yeah.
like the star.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
But for what reasons?
Mm, I think to be seen, like, has just always been a deep desire for me, and be understood.
Yeah.
And yeah, like be seen, be understood. There's definitely like a recognition from my parents piece that I've been unpacking recently of
Mm-hmm.
like, I want them to know that I'm successful. I want them to know that I've made it. I want them to know that I can take care of myself and even like take care of them eventually. Like I want them
Mm-hmm.
to like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
mhm.
What's the power in you being seen?
I think I feel like a relief when I'm vulnerable. Like I've always been like a vulnerable person. I think I feel something I discovered was that like there is a power that I get from taking away like no one can like hold anything over me if I've already like put it all out there. Like no one can be
Yes.
like, yeah,
Absolutely.
there's a power in being like completely an open book so that like
Absolutely.
yeah, I can't be like hurt by anything someone says about me or something like that.
For
Yeah.
sure. What I'm hearing in that is ownership.
Hmm.
Like if I know
Yeah.
myself at that level and I can live
Hmm.
in my fullest expression at that level, then I'm essentially unstoppable
Yeah. Hmm.
because anything you say or do or judge me for
Hmm.
has already been aired out in
Yeah.
my own consciousness.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So the thing that I'm hearing is there's been a centering of money, your worthiness, your success, sort of the measuring of how you're doing in life is tied to money. That's one thing. The second thing I'm noticing, which I think is more of a like a mind, I call them like a mind knot, which is like it's
Hmm.
not actually true for you, but the mind has establish this knot to keep you looping in circles, right? Like a knot goes nowhere, really. It's
Hmm.
tied in on
Hmm.
itself. And the knot that I'm hearing is that it's about you because in
Mm.
our conversation so far, in the questions that I've asked, like, what is your worthiness? What determines your worthiness? Why is it important that you're seen? The responses I'm getting are about you
Hmm.
when I actually have a deeper sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if I paid you, Sapphire, $6,500, you'd probably change my life.
Hmm.
Like I would probably walk away with a lot of good, a
Hmm.
lot of important lessons, a lot more self awareness, a lot more capacity for expression, improving how I tell stories, when I tell, like, my life
Mhm.
would probably be a lot better than it was before I paid you the $6,500. Do you
Yeah.
think that's accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I've gotten like really powerful results from my clients that
Yes.
I even have trouble being like, okay, but that wasn't me. Like, you must be doing something else on the side.
So that's important
Yeah. Hmm.
because the other thing that I hear, and this is, I really want you to hear this, but I want everybody who's listening to hear this.
Hmm.
As the kid who came in, like wanting to be seen, highly sensitive, very attuned to themselves and the environment, it has a very artist flavor.
Hmm.
Um, the whole intention and purpose of the artist is to make people think,
Hmm.
to make people feel.
Yep.
And so one of the most powerful tools for the artist, interestingly enough, is that like the artist usually has the muse,
Hmm.
but both exist in the same, they're both connected, like in the same breath. The artist
Hmm.
is the muse. The muse is the artist embodied.
Hmm.
And so when I hear, I wanted to be on Broadway, I wanted to be a performer, I wanted to be heard, seen, all of that. I heard my presence and expression is medicine.
Hmm.
Something
Yeah.
happens. Something
Hmm.
happens when I'm present.
Yes. Hmm.
What happens from your perspective?
Yeah. Joy, definitely. Like when I'm thinking of when I was a kid, like people loved to watch me on stage for whatever reason. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was good at it. As far as like more in the present day, like I think, yeah, people feel really safe and seen. Like it's kind of like the same medicine that
Mm-hmm.
I need, I'm giving back, right? Like I
Yes.
create a really safe place that where people feel like, oh wow, I haven't been able to talk about that before, or
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, people feel heard, but it feels authentic too, and it feels real, and it doesn't feel like there's anything being put on. Like it's
Yeah.
very freeing, I think, for people.
Yeah. Is your expression and your visibility a service to others?
Yes, I think so.
When you engage in the world, are you making the world a better place?
I think so. Yeah.
How does that feel to be in ownership of that?
Feels good. I think there's a part of me that's like there's something in there that's a little unstable with it, right?
What
Or
is
like
it?
unsteady with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like fear of that ownership piece because people who own that they're of sort or like if you own too much, then you're, I don't know, a narcissist or
Yeah.
I don't know, like taking up too much
Mm-hmm.
space in a bad way, you know, like
Okay. Yes.
thinking I'm
Yes.
hot shit. I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
uh
The audacity.
yes, the audacity. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes. The
Hmm.
audacity. So this is the third time I'm hearing this flavor
Okay.
in our dialogue. And it's like this real fear of if I take it too far, I'll hurt someone.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
might become the person that took advantage of me.
Damn. Mhm.
Does that land for you?
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just become a harmful person at all. Yeah, like I think I'm
Yeah.
such a like on such a mission to not do harm, but like doing harm
Yeah.
severely distresses me when like, yeah. And
Yes.
it has held me back a lot in coaching.
Yeah.
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 So because I've worked with what I feel like are kind of shady coaches or people who've taken
Mm-hmm.
advantage of people, I often feel like underqualified to do what I do and wish that I could afford more like licensing and certifications and more education because I just want to be like super, I just don't want to fuck anyone up.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
like, and especially like I am working with trauma and like people
Mm-hmm.
who've been through like really hard shit. And like,
Yeah.
I just really respect the mental health industry too. And like,
For
I want to do right
sure.
by people, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So the do no
Yeah.
harm, the fear of doing harm makes perfect sense. Yeah, it makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I really, really hear this. And I actually hear care.
Hmm.
I hear a lot of care.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is just for anybody who's listening. Now, Sapphire and I are diving into shadow work. This is what we would call shadow
Mm.
work. It's the sort of that underbelly of like fear and also the invitation for ownership. Because when we look at this realistically, in any field, in any position as a human, do we have the capacity for harm?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do. So let's say it happens. A coaching session is had. The client comes back and says, Sapphire, I don't feel well. This is happening. I feel harmed. I feel taken advantage of. I feel X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
How do you move in response to that?
Yeah. I think I would definitely like let them know that I'm so glad they brought this to me and I really want to hear them out and like, can I ask questions, maybe find out some more, figure out where they're at. I think it'd be like, yeah, creating a support plan for them. Like what would feel good to you moving forward? Do you want to continue working together, not continue working together? Can I help you find support outside of my coaching,
Yeah.
like really making it up to them and making sure they have their autonomy and deciding what's best for them and that they know themselves best and making sure that's reiterated and yeah, and just being like a really open, safe space for that kind of feedback.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
In that response, I don't hear any gaslighting.
Yeah.
I don't hear any cruelty.
Right.
I don't hear any blame. I don't hear any rejection. So what in the mind in your internal dialogue continues to reinforce that you might be a bad person?
I think like through, now I'm gonna get emotional,
That's
but
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I think like part of my healing process has been looking at my own shadow, I guess you could say, and like
Yeah.
the things that I did, especially when I was like acutely suffering from trauma. Like I definitely behaved in ways that I'm not proud of and caused harm.
Yeah.
And it's like been powerful to own that and look at that. But I do think I just have like still a lot of fear of doing that again, even though I obviously wouldn't do the same thing, but just like I remember I like hurt someone and I had no idea I did it,
Yeah.
like for such a long time. And the fact that I could be that like naive and also just like blind to my own impact, like I think really scares me. Like I think we can all be so delusional sometimes and just
Yeah.
like so in our own world. Like as humans, we're just like so fallible to like living in our own narrative.
Yeah.
And I think what scares me about entrepreneurship too is that like you have to create these narratives to like keep yourself going and you have to like spin everything in a certain way to like keep your mindset in check and all this stuff. And I think
Yeah.
that I get scared that I'm gonna go too far that way and just like, yeah, lose sight of what's actually happening in reality or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the fear of harming again,
Hmm.
especially because I really, first of all, I appreciate your expression in this and really going there
Hmm.
because this is a big deal. I
Yeah.
hear an opportunity to forgive yourself.
Hmm.
And I also hear an opportunity to create a different, my brain sees it as like a system,
Hmm.
to create a different system so that you can mitigate a bit more, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and I see it visually as like when you go bowling and you put the bumpers up,
Hmm.
right? It's like, where are my bumpers at?
Yeah.
And so, Sapphire, are you a bad person?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
Again, I always say think though. Do you notice that too? Like I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, are you a bad person?
No.
Okay. And if you did something that was in air quotes bad,
Hmm.
how would you handle it?
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of tools and capacity to hear that feedback and hold space for someone else. And like
Absolutely.
I love repairs. I think repair is like super powerful.
Yes.
So I would try
Yeah.
to use it as an opportunity for that.
Yeah. And also
Hmm.
the grace and the compassion for self and others of like, oh my gosh, I was young,
Yeah.
ignorant,
Hmm.
adolescent,
Hmm.
growing up.
Yeah.
Right? Because contrary to what society tells us, we're not fully adults until we're like 28.
Yeah. Right.
26, according to brain development. Like
Totally.
25 to 28 is kind of the sweet spot where
Yep.
most of us
Are still,
yes.
pondering.
Yeah. Yeah. So the grace and the compassion
Mm-hmm.
for like self
Mm-hmm.
and also gratitude for the fact that like that shaped you so that you now have the awareness of like, oh, it's so like the most dangerous person in the room is the person who's ignorant to their own power.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they have no idea how
Right.
their impact is rippling out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So now that instance turned on a light bulb for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. What are some ways that you could mitigate going forward?
Yeah. And by mitigate, you mean like mitigate harm, like potential harm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To self and others.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, something that comes up with my clients is just like, I do prefer when they like have a therapist or have like additional support when they're seeing me. But I also know that's not realistic for everyone. Part of me is like afraid to put that limit on my clients because I know that I need to work with people and but that's something that's come up for me is just making sure they have like really good support. And I really want to learn, I don't know yet, but I want to learn how to like help someone make like a safety plan too for themselves, like while they're working with me so that they know when some of the signs and stuff that maybe they need to reach out for additional support. Yeah, I feel like maybe just kind of building up some of my knowledge and resources, I feel like on like trauma-informed support and stuff like that and making sure that, that I have some stuff in place, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And then can I offer a couple things?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yes to everything you just said. The other thing that I encourage is you've mentioned the coaching industry quite a bit. And I'm grateful that you have because it's an unregulated industry, right?
Yeah.
Which has its goods and it has its not so goods. I personally, my background is psychotherapy. So I'm licensed as a psychotherapist and have gone through the training and the licensing. And so all of that, my perspective is a little bit different than a standard coaching perspective.
Yeah.
And the training that I went through in my education and even in the licensing and the 10 years that I spent in the mental health field, they're very, very firm on you always consult. Consult. And I don't know if you've ever watched the show Couples Therapy.
Oh, no, not yet, but I've heard about it too. Yeah.
I feel like you're going to love it. Side note, I feel like you're going to love it. But in couples therapy, what I love so much is you watch the therapist, Orna, you watch her consult on her cases with her direct supervisor and then her peers. And I always encourage anybody who is stepping out into the field of helping others, especially within like a healing capacity, consult, have people that you can go to who are of the same like healing space, but a different modality maybe, and go ask them questions. How did I handle this situation? How would you have handled this situation? Is there anything that you can see that maybe I missed or didn't consider? Like that's so important when, like you said earlier, because I really resonate with this, when you're dealing with the lives of other people, right? Like this is their livelihood. It's a big deal, you know, and you're doing identity work, really big deal, you know? So that's the first thing I would encourage you to do. And I'm, you know, there are people out there who are incredible who would be happy if you messaged them and said, hey, there's something that came up with one of my clients. Could I bounce this off of you and just see if there's anything I'm missing?
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's
you
cool.
know? So that's number one. It's just from a professional, like consult. Okay. And then the second thing is I'm married to an artist and it's incredible. And I would say that we're both artists in a different way, but his art is it's meant to make people think and address the elephant that's in the room. When we really sat down and looked at, okay, what's the trajectory here with where you're going with your art and where I'm going in my career? We really decided like intentionally that we would be the safe space and that not only from a I see you, I love you, it's unconditional no matter what perspective, but also from the perspective of I'm going to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If this has gone too far, if this has
Mm-hmm.
become too much, if I'm seeing something that feels out of integrity for me or looks a little out of integrity, I'm going to bring it forward to you. And I give you
Nice.
permission to do it for me.
Yeah.
So I'm really a fan of like having this, call it a bubble, call it a crew. We call it like our home base. Like
Mm-hmm.
we can go out into the world and be expressive and allow people to judge us and to criticize us and to have their own experience in response to our beingness because we've got our home base.
Yeah.
We've got the people in our lives that deeply know us, know our hearts, know our minds, know our integrity, and who have the ability to both say, we love you so much, we support you, we're cheering you on, and have the ability to check us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important
Mm-hmm.
because in a moment, right, somebody on the internets of the wild, wild west could say something
totally
out of pocket
Yep.
that and catch us in a moment that's like, oh, in a superhuman, tender, I've had a bad day and now I'm reading this,
Totally.
and somebody else in our home base can be like, let it go.
Yeah.
Step away from it for 24 hours. If you still feel the same after 24 hours, we'll craft a response so that you get your expression too, right? Or if after 24 hours you forgot to think about it, then perfect. You forgot to think about it,
Yeah, totally.
How does that feel for you?
Yeah, that feels really good.
Yeah. Because I'm not hearing a money issue, which is what comes up a lot when we talk about money stuff, is that money is just the trigger event. Money is just the way in which the universe is trying to teach us something about ourselves.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is a lot of care that's sort of being atrophied by anxiety.
Yeah.
And like fear. And this was super helpful for me too in business because it's like, we're going to make mistakes.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to make errors. We have no ill intent. And how do we clean it up? How do we repair it?
Yeah.
Totally.
Would you say it's also a trust issue? Because when I was hearing you say that, I also feel like it's a trust issue with myself still, which is
sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, that's a part of, to me, that the way I see that is like, that's a part of the identity that we started to like unravel today of I'm a bad person.
Okay. Yeah.
If I'm a bad person, then I have to question everything I do. And I have to put it through this filter of, can I trust it? Can I trust it? Can I trust it? Because I'm a bad person. Do you know what I mean? The reason I'm bringing up the mitigation or having a different plan in place is because people who have that plan in place start to collect more evidence that they're actually good people. Right? So your brain up until this point has been reminding you, you might be a bad person. You might be a bad person. You might be a bad person. You have an interaction with somebody. Did I hurt their feelings? Did I offend them? Did I say something wrong? Was I too much? Did I come on too strong? Did I ask for too much money? Does this dialogue resonate with you?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Having the system in place is, to me, it's providing the life jacket as you transition in identity.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Because it's like, I'm not going to tell you to just start to jump from I'm a bad person to I'm amazing. Like that swing is really, even if it's true, that swing in identity can feel like a hard right turn.
Totally.
And I would not want anyone free falling into that because it puts somebody back into the situation where they're not really prepared. They're not really empowered. Right. Whereas like if you have a system in place, to go, okay, when it does happen, this is how I will move. To me, there's more like I have wiggle room. I'm not in denial that I'm not going to harm somebody, or I'm not going to make a mistake, or I'm not going to make an error.
Yeah.
I'm in the awareness that the chances of me making an error are there.
Yeah, totally.
And when I do, I know I have a plan in place to repair it, clean it up.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Because I
And
think
that,
part of the belief system too is that it's not even that I'm a bad person, but it's that good people can do bad things as well. You
sure.
know, like that's
Yeah.
been coming up a lot for me too. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just like you can be a really good person and doing your best and still like
Sure.
cause harm. Yeah. I think that
Absolutely.
really stresses me out.
Yeah. And I would even venture, really invite you to explore in that. If you're allowed to make a mistake, am I
Mm-hmm.
allowed to make mistakes? Am I allowed to make errors? Especially because earlier on we brought up like success is so important to you,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes when
Mhm.
success is so important to us, we're like, if we make an error, we become
Yeah.
so critical, so
Hmm.
unforgiving, so tough on ourselves.
Yeah.
When it's like, actually, we're
Right.
giving it our all and we made an error and like, it's okay. What
Hmm.
can we learn
Yeah.
from it? How does this error refine us?
Hmm.
How does it make us better?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Amazing. How
This
do
has
you
been
feel?
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel great. Yeah. This has been like so good. I'm really
Yeah.
impressed.
Oh,
And I don't really get
awesome.
impressed by coaches very often. So this is
Oh,
awesome.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful to hear that. Well, I mean, what I hear from you is that like everything is there. It's just like some more support, some more
Hmm.
for self,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
processes so that like more grace for self, more compassion,
Hmm.
and really knowing that like, look, I'm here to help and to support, and
Hmm.
I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to let people know I exist,
Yeah.
and I'll make mistakes.
Hmm.
I'll make errors.
Yeah.
And if they need cleaning up, I'll clean them up. And if
Hmm.
they don't, I'll learn from them. It'll be what it be.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sapphire. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
No,
I
thank
really
you. This was really,
appreciate you.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. As we complete this episode, I would love to know your insights, takeaways, and feedback. You can message me on Instagram at Katie Lynn Rojano or send them via email to katie@katielynnrojano.com. Any products or digital downloads I mentioned can be found via the link in my Instagram bio. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to share it with at least one friend and leave a 5-star review so we can get these impactful dialogues into the lives of even more people. I would also like to thank my guest for their vulnerability and generosity in allowing us to learn from them and grow alongside them. Until next time, friends, let's go beyond.